factory that will be making testing kits. This will be for HIV, hepatitis B, malaria, and this is apparently going to take down the $200 million we have been spending annually on importing testing kits. But also, this is a beautiful move, a great move in the health sector, because now it makes testing for instance, for diseases like HIV, for hepatitis B, and even malaria easier, because now they will be easily accessible even more, and they will be cheaper because they will be made locally. And for me, if you ask me, that is such a great move, and it is such a beautiful way to end the year. And as the International AIDS Day comes along, which will be on 1st of December, when we have something like that going on, because testing and more testing has been advised, experts have been calling for it, like test and test and test, know your status at any time. Now, if we have testing kits being made at home and readily available, it means we may be able to beat HIV infection by 2030. Well, I'm not alone on Good Morning Uganda. I have people that I hang out with every single morning, and I would like to pick their brains on this advancement when it comes to our health sector. Well, I'll start with the other lady on the team. Good morning, Olive.
Good morning, Olive. How are you feeling today?
I'm great. How are you?
I am all right. It's today Cheryl came in wanting to confuse me, asking if it's a Thursday, and I have to keep reminding myself it's a Wednesday.
Yes.
You just talked about testing kits, and well, in terms of innovation and invention for a country like Uganda, I believe we are taking another step. We shouldn't have to import some of those things if we can have them manufactured in the country. So it's a good step for us. And of course, whether it will help curb down, or help people know their statuses, I cannot guarantee that, because also testing kits are available everywhere. But people don't like to test sometimes. People are scared. So at the end of the day, it's a good advancement. But in terms of the other side, I don't know about that.
Well, I don't know what Jerome Paul thinks about that, but if you ask me, I think that having testing kits readily available, even more, I know we already have them, but imagine if you've been buying them at 20,000, 10,000, and now you can access them at as low as 2,000, like the pregnancy testing kits. I believe that would be a step in the right direction, but Jerome Paul can tell us more. Good morning.
Yes, good morning again. Good morning, Monica. And when you mention about it being a step in the rightful direction, I can't agree less, I should say, because it is something that we are looking forward to if we want our health sector to grow as much. And when you mention testing kits, when you look at, for example, the testing kits that are being given out at public hospitals for people who are testing for HIV, you can easily check out with people or from the kind of situation that is actually coming up. Most of the people are happy with the idea that someone can easily access some of these services freely. So us having this particular factory within the country, not only is it saving Uganda a lot when it comes to the money we've actually been using in regards to importation of the same, but also clearly showing us that industrialization is definitely taking shape here in Uganda. Not only the health sector shaping up, but also cutting costs, like you've said, where hospitals will not overcharge us, because at times the hospital overcharges you and says most of these equipment are coming in from other countries or are coming in from foreign countries. But this time around, when the equipment is actually manufactured here, you can easily say it is a good one for Uganda to be really proud of.
Well, good morning, Mr. Robert Chirabo.
A lovely morning to you. I must say today, Najuma has put a smile on my face. After noticing, now I feel yes.
You almost, you were feeling weak in your knees, you almost dropped on your knees, right?
The roles had been, were almost being reversed, where this time around it was going to be the Muganda man kneeling for the Muganda woman.
Otherwise, first I want to say this is a very big milestone for Uganda as a country. There was a time when people would criticize and say, Uganda, what do we manufacture? You know, not even needles, not even now.
But we import stupidity.
Now with these breakthroughs in the field of science and technology, first, economically it has an impact, but also the fact that now we are reducing on what we are importing into the country. Because we need to have more exports. I believe there are countries that are going to come and purchase some of these, leave alone having the local market, maybe the price could go down, which is not a guarantee, because I've seen certain things manufactured here and they are more expensive than even what we import.
Like clothes.
Like clothes?
Yes.
Than even what we import. Now, but by and large, we talked about HIV/AIDS. Now, we must end HIV/AIDS by 2030. And what countries or globally are doing is they want 95% of a country's population to test for HIV. So the best gift you can give yourself this Christmas is knowing your status. If we have 95% of Ugandans test for HIV, then 95% of those that have tested for HIV and are positive start medication. Then if we have those 95% of the population that tested positive on medication, stick to the medication and suppress the viral load, then we can end HIV. What will that mean? That we shall have no new people contracting HIV/AIDS and people dying because of HIV/AIDS, because they will be on treatment and they are sticking to treatment. They have suppressed the viral load. They will die of other natural causes. But also remember, science has proven that when someone takes their drugs religiously and suppresses the virus, they don't pass it on. So we may not have new infections, neither will you have those dying of HIV/AIDS. That is the global vision to end HIV by 2030. But it starts with testing.
Yes, testing. Test and test some more, because that's the only way you will start on medication. And also, this is something sometimes when people fear to find out their status, that the one thing that they don't know, or the one thing that they take for granted, it is that when you find out your status early enough and start on medication early enough, you have a chance at living a normal life and a lengthy life. So your longevity is guaranteed when you take medication and when you start early. Sometimes people have gone to health facilities to start on maybe ARVs, but it's too late. They do not have enough CD4s and their bodies are so weak they cannot even start them on ARVs. And of course, sometimes we've lost some of these people. But if more people test early, if we make knowing your status a part of your life and we normalize it, then we can kick out HIV infection by 2030. Well, at this moment, we have local news that we have prepared for you, and Chirawe Robert will be taking us through the first story.
What better way to start than the story that the President commissioned a state-of-art diagnostic kit plant in Ntinda, making a significant step forward in the country's healthcare sector. The $50 million facility is owned by Markham Scientifics, is the first of its kind in the Great Lakes region and is expected to save the country over $200 million annually that has been spent on importation of testing kit. The plant will produce a wide range of both molecular and rapid diagnostic test kits for HIV viral load, HIV early infant diagnosis, HIV drug resistance monitoring, malaria, and hepatitis B. The production of these kits will not only reduce the country's resiliency on imports, but also enhance its ability to respond to disease outbreaks effectively. President Museveni lauded the establishment of the plant, emphasizing the importance of local manufacturing capacity in improving the health sector.
Now moving on to matters Parliament, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Annette Among, has directed the executive to present a report on the 18 missing persons as demanded by the opposition wing. The Speaker's directives confirm a twist of events following her recent remarks on the opposition boycott of plenary. Speaker Anita Among wants the report latest today as the opposition wing continues to escape plenary sessions until their demands are addressed. The leader of opposition, Matthias Mpuga, had earlier addressed the media informing the members of the opposition not to adhere to the Speaker's directives of being excluded from the committee proceedings of Parliament.
And moving on, inadequate access to information, persistent stigma against persons living with HIV/AIDS has undermined efforts to eliminate the virus in the country. The Executive Director of Uganda AIDS Commission, Dr. Nelson Musoba, said these factors have fueled new infections, but also making it difficult for persons living with HIV/AIDS to openly enroll on medication and later on seek much needed psychological support. Dr. Musoba was in an engagement with journalists in Kampala.
And moving on, technocrats in government institutions have been urged to improve all the necessary stakeholders, among others local people, leaders in planning and policy making, to ensure fruitful deliberations of their reforms and bills. This was during the closure of a two-day fourth annual Pension Supervisors Association conference held in Kampala. Pension supervisors from various countries across Africa, including Kenya, South Africa, Malawi, Rwanda, among others, have undergone a two-day conference in Uganda, Kampala, hosted by Uganda Retirement Benefits Regulatory Authority, to devise means on how best pension schemes can be bettered in Africa. The conference was closed by State Minister for Public Service Mugasa Grace Mary on behalf of Minister for Gender Betty Amongi. Well, that is what we were able to gather for you this morning as far as the local news is concerned. But Chantal Olive has more in the international news.
Internationally, Israel has persisted with arresting dozens of Palestinians in the occupied West Bank and East Jerusalem as it conducts a prisoner release with Hamas, the Gaza-based armed group. And in the first 4 days of the ongoing truce between Israel and Hamas, which began on Friday, Israel released 150 Palestinian prisoners, 117 children, 33 women. Hamas released 69 captives, 51 Israelis and 18 people from other nations. Over the same 4 days, Israel arrested at least 133 Palestinians from East Jerusalem and the West Bank, according to Palestinian prisoner associations. As long as there is occupation, the arrests will not stop. People must understand this, because this is a central policy of occupation against Palestinians and to restrict any kind of resistance. Amani Sarane, spokesperson of the Palestinian Prisoner Society, told a news agency. Also, all 41 construction workers who were trapped in a collapsed mountain tunnel for 17 days in northern India have been brought to safety hours after rescue crew drilled through the debris of rock, concrete and mud to reach them. Following days of multiple rescue attempts that hit obstacles just meters from reaching the men, they were eventually pulled out yesterday on wheeled stretchers through a 90-centimeter or 3-foot wide steel pipe in the Himalayan state of Uttarakhand. The final phase of the delicate operation was completed in about an hour. The laborers, low-wage workers from some of India's poorest states, had been stuck in the 4.5-kilometer tunnel being built in Uttarakhand since it caved in early November 12th. The intricate and painstaking efforts to get them out had been closely watched across the country for days. Moving on, a series of attacks on military barracks and prisons in Sierra Leone over the weekend was a failed coup attempt, according to police and government officials in the West African country. Information Minister Shanor Ba said the 13 military officers and 1 civilian have been arrested following the incident. The incident was a failed attempted coup. The intention was to illegally subvert and overthrow a democratically elected government, Barr said on Tuesday. The attempt had failed and plenty of the leaders are either in police custody or on the run. We will try to capture them and bring them to the full force of the law of Sierra Leone. The Inspector General of Police said the attempted coup failed in the early hours of the 26th of November. Now, matters climate. Pope Francis won't attend the COP28 climate summit in Dubai this week as planned due to ill health. The Vatican announced yesterday why it matters. Francis would have been the first pontiff to attend the formal UN conference of the parties, and his planned speech and meetings would have lent weight to the talks per Ben Gemen. Francis is a leading voice in combating climate change. A first-time papal encyclical on climate in 2015 expressed concern about harm to poor and vulnerable nations. He also wrote an essay last month urging COP28 to produce more obligatory steps on energy transition. The big picture, Pope was scheduled to attend COP28 from Friday to Sunday, and he said over the weekend that he would attend despite being diagnosed with inflammation of the lungs. But Vatican officials said in a statement that he decided with great regret to cancel his visit on the advice of doctors, even though his general health situation has improved in relation to the flu and respiratory tract inflammation he has been suffering from. And that is it for climate news and also what is happening across different parts of the world.
Thank you, Chantal. Jerome Paul, what should we expect to find in the local dailies and, of course, those from the East African region?
Well, from our local dailies, I have the New Vision, the Daily Monitor, and across the borders, we have the Daily Nation and the Citizen in Tanzania. Now, with the New Vision, the headline says, how bosses trap us into corruption. The junior public servants narrowing harrowing tales to the Inspector General of Government. HIV and AIDS, government approves vaginal ring. Read more about that as Museveni launches diagnostic plant. More of that is in the New Vision. Tough penalties for illegal alcohol sale. Read about that in the New Vision today. General Muhoozi inspects Kampala road repairs. A pictorial of General Muhoozi in downtown Kampala. As the gender gap, 800 billion Ugandan shillings women project is set to start. Now also the Daily Monitor at the front page on this fruitful Wednesday. Go-Fest trial, court tells Minister Chitutu. Then a pupil of 9 kills self after being detained at school over fees. As Speaker makes U-turn, asks government for answers on missing persons. Furthermore, industrialization, government to buy HIV, malaria testing kits from local manufacturer. Pictorial of President Museveni opening up the particular facility. Then also in the other news, business returns in Pondwe border as hotels list items stolen most by clients. Daily Monitor also highlights DP is set to hold countrywide consultations ahead of the 2026 polls. Now crossing the borders to Kenya with the Daily Nation blocked is the headline. The government will move fast to align the law with court decision in relation to rulings, says President Ruto. Members of Parliament accused Ensure of giving teachers raw deal. Lawmakers threatened to cancel 53 billion Kenyan shilling plan. Now also, 120 have been killed as 89,000 displaced by floods. More of that is in the Daily Nation. And Raila hits at a return of protests in Kenya. Lastly, the Citizen newspaper in Tanzania, oversight of public farms set for radical overhaul is what the headline is, as also how East Africa CEOs perceive business and economic growth. There is a full detailed report of that in the Citizen today. Now, forum focuses on quality in higher learning. Which forum is that? Read about it in the Citizen. Mwasi says technology is simply a tool for Tanzania's transformation. Then lastly, Minister's 1-month ultimatum on illegal fishing. How about that? That is it for our press review this very moment.
Thank you, Jerome Paul. Now, I've seen comments that at the rate he's producing and collaborating with the Afrobeats artist, Chris Brown should declare himself an African. Well, here is This Christmas by Chris Brown, the African. It is Wednesday, the 29th of November 2023. Here we are closing the month happily and healthy, and I'm hoping that you are also happy and healthy. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Thank you so much for being a part of this program. We started on Monday and we will be taking you through the week, ushering you into every single day, every morning till Friday. This is what we do, and we thank you and can't thank you enough for always being a part of this program. Now, the president of this country, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, commissioned a factory that will be making testing kits. This will be for HIV, hepatitis B, malaria, and this is apparently going to take down the $200 million we have been spending annually on importing testing kits. But also, this is a beautiful move, a great move in the health sector, because now it makes testing for instance, for diseases like HIV, for hepatitis B, and even malaria easier, because now they will be easily accessible even more, and they will be cheaper because they will be made locally. And for me, if you ask me, that is such a great move, and it is such a beautiful way to end the year. And as the International AIDS Day comes along, which will be on 1st of December, when we have something like that going on, because testing and more testing has been advised, experts have been calling for it, like test and test and test. It is Wednesday, the 29th of November 2023. Here we are closing the month happily and healthy, and I'm hoping that you are also happy and healthy. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda. My name is Olive Monica Najuma. Thank you so much for being a part of this program. We started on Monday and we will be taking you through the week, ushering you into every single day, every morning till Friday. This is what we do, and we thank you and can't thank you enough for always being a part of this program. Now, the president of this country, Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, commissioned a factory that will be making testing kits. This will be for HIV, hepatitis B, malaria, and
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
In the heart of Uganda, a financial revolution is happening. We were once left out, saving the old-fashioned way. With an unexpected savings spot, keeping it too close for comfort. But now, we found a better way to save and manage money. Download the Wendy app from Google Play or App Store or dial *229#. With Wendy, your money is safe and you can earn interest daily. Visit your Google Play or App Store or dial *229# to register. Wendy, Wanawoli.
Junko.
Yo.
What you check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, it is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Junko, I thought I was one of your friends.
You are,
but you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief, and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government, designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Previously, in most of these areas that we had prioritized, farmers would produce, but you don't access market because the roads are not there. So you have the middlemen that would have access and they persevere to go into those deep in the villages and they buy with their own prices. They can go there and set prices for you, and yet you're the ones who are producing this food. But now this time with the market linkages, people can now access market because we have bridges that were, streams that were bottlenecks to access by the farmers. It has constructed bridges. Some farmers can now reach market.
You are still watching Good Morning Uganda. I'm Olive Monica Najama here with Chantal Olive Akandinda and Jerome Paul Sonko. We thank you for being a part of this program every single morning, and of course we wish you the very best, especially now that we are steadily moving into December, a month full of festivities, a month full of spending, and of course from me to you, I hope that you have prepared, because I saw something yesterday that made me smile, but also made me a bit concerned. And it said, if you're not careful in December, you will come out of the month without, for basically the budget. If you have no budget, you will come out with zero money. The month will spend you, if you understand what I'm saying. Because in that month, especially if you have a family, children want gifts, they want this and that. And of course, if you're single, this is the time when most people think, okay, now this is the time for us to go and spend. So you need to really be careful with your expenditure. But today we are not talking about financial matters. We are talking about education in our country. Yes, the school year has closed for most schools that are on the local curriculum, that is the schools that are under UNEB, but still, education is here with us to stay, and this is a conversation we are going to have for a long time, because education is what makes the country who we are, and of course it facilitates growth of any nation. Now, there are concerns that rural schools are not performing as expected compared to the urban schools, and especially public schools in this case. Now, while releasing UNEB exams early this year, the State Minister for Education, John Chrysostom Muyingo, said that this is basically partly because of teacher absenteeism. So basically what we hear from the Education Ministry is that rural schools are not performing as well as they should because of teachers. Teachers are taking the blame here, and we are asking you, should teachers be blamed? What do you think about the notion that poor performance of rural schools is commensurate with teacher absenteeism, or that teachers are not doing the right thing at the right time, and that's why the students that they're teaching or pupils that they're teaching are not performing as well as their urban school counterparts? Now, going back to the team, I'll go to Jerome Paul Sonko. And I would like, first of all, for us to look into the performance of rural schools compared to urban schools over the last few years.
Well, relatively, they've not been performing as much better when you look at how most of the urban schools are performing, even in the region, because when you look at the regions that are performing better than others in Uganda, Wakiso, we have Mukono, we have Kampala. All of these are regions within the central part of it. And it further stretches to the western region a bit, with schools based in Mbarara, and of course also a little more of schools based in the eastern region. But when you look at the last 5 years, when it comes to the performance, you realize it has always been Mukono, Wakiso, and Kampala having the most performing schools. And one of the reasons as to why that is because of the fact that most of these schools, especially the private schools, even when you look at the public schools that are in the, within the same region, have the necessary equipment, facilities, even the teachers that they do have are always available on time, first of all, and then the mere fact that they even have lots of, they do have many teachers at their disposal, where you will find one school having 4 teachers that are actually teaching one subject. And that is, it's more like you're in A level, but having 4 teachers teaching biology. So that means if one is not present, the other can simply substitute in for the rest. So when you look at that, that particular performance, it ideally translates as to why we do not have, or as to why we have so many schools within the central region and western region performing better than those within the northern region, and also those from the eastern region. But also looking into the fact that the performance levels have also increased greatly within these particular regions, and the regions in mention here, the central and the western region, you also get to look at it in a way that even parents from the northern region, even those in the eastern region, have a tendency of getting their students or pupils to study from these particular schools. So it's it comes back again to how we are respecting or giving room for the growth of these schools vis-a-vis the same way we appreciate those schools in the upcountry areas. So this, by the look of performance and results, schools majorly in upcountry, even those, by the way, in the central region that are centered in upcountry areas, are not performing as much as those in the urban setting.
Now, when we speak about a case in point, the schools you've been mentioning in areas like Mbarara, are we talking about, because I don't know, I find it hard to actually consider Mbarara, especially schools in Mbarara city, as rural schools, because, I mean, it is a city. So when you speak about these schools, are we talking about private schools or government schools? And when you talk about their location, even if it is in Mbarara, is it within the city center or out of the city center, even here in the Kampala Metropolitan or the Central? Which schools are we talking about? Are we talking about a school deep in Mukono, or we are talking about a school like Seta that is in within Mukono?
No, when you look at the study really of performance, especially for schools within these regions, why I did mention the western region is because there are lots of schools within the region. Some are within Mbarara city, others are not in Mbarara city or are within the rural settings of Mbarara. But when you look at the fact that even those in the central region, you will actually be challenged that some of those who are also performing well are off or are on the outskirts of the city.
Now, I would like for us to also now look into the reasons why pupils and even students from rural areas perform their performance is below the belt as compared to their city or urban counterparts.
Simple example, take a look at the facilities that the urban schools have. Take a look at the quality of teachers that urban schools have, and then take a look at the quality of life of the teachers in the urban schools. Also, generally, the quality of life of the city dwellers or the urban dwellers. In comparison, when you look at the rural areas, you will see that there is a very big gap between the rural dwellers and the urban dwellers, and that is the first thing I would point out as the reason. And why is that? In these, let me use the word villages. In the villages or far parts of the country, you're going to realize that most of the teachers who are there, few of them attained even degrees. Most of them are diploma holders. And that is why they are able to work in those areas. In Kampala, if you're a diploma holder, for example, you're not going to first of all teach the same classes, teach the same subjects. You'll be an assistant in a way, and it's not going to be the same as someone who has a degree or even went to a particular institute to get the qualification that you have. So at the end of the day, you're going to look at the urban dwellers having a certain set of standard that has been set for their teachers, for them to be able to teach. And then you look at the standards being set for the teachers in the rural areas, and you realize that there's also a difference. As someone who teaches in the rural area, if they came to Kampala, there would be a difference, the biggest percentage. And people who teach in urban areas are most probably not going to go to the rural areas to teach, unless if they're going to be paid some really, really good amount of money, which is almost impossible. So look at the quality from the standard. Look at the standard of when a school in Kampala is hiring, what are they looking out for? When a school in Nebi, in Moroto is hiring, what are they looking for? You realize that there's also that gap and that difference that is there, and it affects the students in those areas. Yeah, look at how teachers in rural areas live their lives. He's going to wake up in the morning, go and teach. After teaching, because the money being paid is not enough, this person is going to go fishing if they're able to. They're going to go attend to their farm if they're able to. You realize that in some cases, the teachers who teach in certain schools are the providers of the beans and posho, for example, or the suppliers of the beans in those schools, because they have now to figure out how to make an extra life for themselves compared to the money that they're being paid in those schools, because it's also very small money they're being paid, especially public schools.
So you're going back to our point of contention this morning that teachers are partly to blame for the poor performance of students or pupils in rural schools, because if they are now splitting their time between their other side hustles that are not related to education, then probably they're not giving enough time. Are you saying probably because of this, they're not giving enough time to their students?
I wouldn't really call it, I wouldn't accuse them and say they're not giving it enough time, because that would require me to go down and have these conversations with the teachers, because some have timetables. If my time for teaching today is done, why would I not go to the farm? However, we've seen cases of absenteeism.
Sorry to cut you short. According to Chrysostom Muyingo, he says absenteeism of teachers is partly the reason why rural pupils are underperforming, and if you say that these teachers are now engaging in other trades away from teaching, it means that even if they have a timetable, don't you think that even if they have a timetable, they may not honor it because they're stuck somewhere doing their
This
own
is what I was
business?
going. This is what I was driving at. For a moment, you may not blame them because those who have timetables and work on their timetables come and teach. They've done their part. But then there are those, like I was saying, that those who have been reported to actually not come to school to teach, and that is where the concern is. And if you're to go back down to the detail of why don't they turn up to teach, you realize that just like the doctors that work in public hospitals, salaries delay. The payment is not enough to cater for their families. So that alone is enough for someone not to be motivated to go to this school and teach. They would rather go fend for their family from somewhere else. So yes, teachers can partly take the blame, but we cannot really put the blame entirely on them because the students, the parents, everyone contributes.
What would you say to a person who would say that, okay, the salary delays, you're not motivated to work, you have a side hustle. What would you say to a person who says, then choose one trade, either teach or quit and concentrate on your side hustle, because now you are affecting the students that depend on you for knowledge.
No, what you're saying is right, but it does depend really. Because when you look at the situation of teachers within the government settings, someone earning 1.5, that is for the science teachers. And
no,
then,
no, actually science teachers, their salary was increased to 3 million. Vis-a-vis their counterparts that are even, some of them are even still at 590,000.
But again, from the 1.5 is in context with what some of the majority are receiving. So 1.5 to around 2 before the increment came in, and of which we do not want to dive into whether they are receiving the 3 million as of now, because we've not yet heard of complaints whatsoever.
So they are receiving.
So they are. But also when you look at the fact that, but it also again depends, because when you look at some of the salary structures of certain schools, a new science teacher who has not been in place for who has experience of 5 years isn't going to receive 3 million at times. So they will be in a range of around 1.5, 2 million to 2.5. But also, when you mention that they have to concentrate on one particular duty of, doing, or what we could say practicing education and teaching, it is going to be very difficult. This is where humanity cracks in. That, for example, what Chantal shared, that you're dealing with a situation where even in Kampala here, where teachers are earning more than those in upcountry areas, you are earning more money, but you still have opportunities to go and teach other schools.
Yes.
So you have maybe 3 schools you're teaching in this particular picture, and they're still giving you some good money. So the kind of economy we have is very difficult for someone to survive really.
The question was, it's not about someone not having a side hustle, because every industry today, we are all advised to have a side hustle.
Yes.
That's okay. But the question was, I asked, what would you say to someone who says, if you're going to be absent many times because you're concentrating on your side hustle, because you're demotivated by the little pay this side, then why don't you leave the place where you feel demotivated and concentrate on the place that is buttering your bread better? I'm not saying don't have side hustles. If you can balance yourself and be where you're supposed to be at the right time, that's okay. But if government keeps saying we have absenteeism, because people are now concentrating on other things, that's the question.
No, you can't, because the reason as why they continue to stay is because also quitting has never been a solution to anything, regardless of the fact
even
that
when
someone...
Let me give you the reality.
No, when you're underperforming, there are reasons as to why you are underperforming. And this is where I want us to also focus on, that we may ideally say maybe it is better for the teacher to absent themselves, or let's say to quit and concentrate on something where they are performing better. But also, it is not an easy thing as you would like, because when you look at the picture of absenteeism in rural settings, as a person who has actually attended a rural school in my O-level, I would be very honest with you when I say there is students' absenteeism. as well. And it's very terrible, by the way, in these scenarios, whereby a teacher who is supposed to start class by 8 is facing a challenge of students. Now, for example, let's use the schools that are offering day scholars, you know, offering room for day scholars. It becomes very difficult for you as a teacher to get into class and you find only 2 or 3 students.
Right.
It is very demotivating fast, because also these students, this is where we say the entire pictures, I like how the minister even put it, partly the absenteeism of the teachers. Now there is the other part where even parents are contributing. You know, the students are absenting themselves.
Earlier, I actually asked earlier, why are students also, because there is the teachers and then there is the pupils, and I had earlier asked, why are pupils in rather rural schools underperforming away from the teachers? What reasons do we have?
Shortly before that, you had asked a question, and I want to give you guys the reality of things. While working for government, in a way gives a sense of security. Let's agree to disagree. If you are on the government payroll, even if the salary is delayed for 6 months, it's government, you are sure that you're going to get paid. So I'm answering the question. Thank you. Yes, I'm answering the question of how come someone would choose to stay in that job but still go do other things. The truth is that person has a certain sense of security. Yes, the salary has delayed, but they know it's going to come in. And when it comes in, it could sort a thing or two, but they have to. And
it's more like you have a main source of income here.
Thank you.
And then the other is like
that is the reality of why people will choose to keep their jobs with government, even when they're complaining, but in the background, yes.
So I still have a question coming your way, but I would like to invite the audience, the viewers, to come into this conversation. And we are asking for your take on the notion that teachers are to be blamed for the poor performance of rural schools. Are teachers to be blamed for the poor performance of rural schools? Because every time exams come back, P7 just ended their exams, Senior 6 and Senior 4, they just finished their national exams. And in most cases, when the results return around February, March in the next year, the rural schools are usually lagging behind as compared to their urban counterparts. Now, we hear from government, from the Ministry of Education, that partly the reason why this is happening is because teachers are absent from school. They do not attend class or teach when they're supposed to, and this is affecting the students that they are catering to. Now, Chantal was saying that some people will be absent and they won't quit despite their salaries being low, despite their salaries being delayed, because there is a security that comes with having a government job. But Chantal, coming back to you, are we now normalizing complacence in the places of work, especially government institutions, just because we have the security that government will pay at any opportune time?
I was only answering your question and giving you the reality of what happens. Yes, what is on ground. Going forward, it's now on the ministry to identify that complacency, to identify where the gap is, and then go ahead and have a solution put in place. Yes, because you cannot wake up in the morning and say, what the minister did was do a problem statement of absenteeism, but did not talk about the measures that are going to be put in place to curb absenteeism. Then did not go ahead and even try to understand why is there the absenteeism. Have they tried to provide solutions to this absenteeism? Because it has happened over the years. If you were to look at poor performance of these students, stems from way back. I just read a report of 2014, 2013. The same districts that keep appearing every single year, and we are noting failure, decline, then they improve a little bit, then again and decline. Why do we have such prevailing? Why doesn't the ministry provide solutions that are sustainable for this absenteeism? At the end of the day, I usually say this. If you are someone in office, say you're a minister, you're an officer in uniform, you are trained for that particular role. However, we, the many Ugandans, we are a collection of, we are a basket of too many people, too different upbringing. We haven't undergone the same training, different mindsets. and we don't share certain things in common, so definitely we will think different, we'll do things differently. It's up to you to call the house to order and make sure that you put measures in place. Short of that, everyone is going to do what they want, honestly.
Okay, you did mention that the minister never gave any solutions, but he suggested that there should be strict supervision by head teachers on the teachers. No, I'm answering where you said he never suggested, he never gave.
No, let's be realistic
so
here.
I'm just telling you what he said.
No, he's right though,
so that we get that out of the way, because this is one of the solutions.
Because the head teachers are always on ground, by the way.
Is that a solution? And how come after all these years?
He made a problem statement and made suggestions.
And
so now we go back to...
It is right, because the head teachers are always available in most of these schools.
So someone is not doing their job.
My question to you is, after all these years, head teachers have never realized that there is need for that. How many times is that going to be suggested? How many times is that going to be suggested? How many times is it going to be suggested?
We need to implement, maybe.
We normally have conversations here, and in most cases, some of the suggestions we give are suggestions that have been given before, but it doesn't stop us. What am I saying? Maybe one time it can start to work. Anyway, you can join this conversation. You can join this conversation, and the WhatsApp number you can send through your opinion is 0709 602 592. Now, I have a few that have come through, and what this person says, teachers in rural areas are living below the poverty line. What do you expect? Let the minister style up. Today we have ministers seated in Kampala. They don't know what is happening in Namaingo. I guess this person is from Namaingo. You didn't leave your name. Kindly leave your name so that we know who we are having this conversation with. Now, this one says, what do you make of teachers in private schools who earn as little as 200,000 shillings per month, which sometimes is irregular and does not come in time and still perform? Private primary schools in rural settings are the best performing compared to public schools that are well facilitated in terms of human resource and infrastructure. It is just attitude. So what this person is saying is that even there are some of their counterparts that are teaching in private schools are also underpaid, yet they are delivering. So it is an attitude by teachers in government schools. And this one says, this is Nanima Emmanuel. He says, good morning, Uganda. We are talking about science teachers being paid a lump sum of money. What about the primary teachers in the rural setting? How much are they paid so that they can stop the side hustles? We are not saying they should stop the side hustles. At least I think you're replying to me. What I said is, you have your side hustle, but balance your time. If your side hustle is going to affect your main job, then you might as well choose one trade. And this one is Mugole. He says, other civil servants may have allowances as opposed to especially primary teachers, negligence of some parents to perform their responsibilities, government policies, that is automatic promotion among others, are affecting the performance of rural schools. So this person says, what do you make of promoting someone even if they don't have to be promoted? Maybe their performance is low. Now we have 2 minutes left and I would like us to wrap up. But before that, this one says ICT Ministry should work with the education and institute a login tool that captures information that can be uploaded at the end of every month to an online platform. Well, do all these schools have computers even? Good morning, UBC. I'm Afema Aldo from Arua. Low attention is given to most rural schools because our inspectors for education usually focus on urban schools to determine improvement in our education, hence neglect of our local schools. And the last one, he says, good morning, UBC. This issue of education is really serious. Educationists must be concerned over absenteeism. I don't care about attitude. Remember, teachers in rural areas tend to go to the gardens before coming to class. They think of their upgrade than giving knowledge. Those past years we had grade 2 and 3 teachers. Children were doing well, but now honestly, most teachers are diploma and degree holders, but results are wanting. It's a lot. We can't absorb this problem. Simply, I want to ask government to make these teachers, to put the teachers on contracts. Well, unfortunately, time is not on our side, and Chantal and I were still going into this, but I guess we'll have to just continue this conversation off air. For now, we will take a short break, and we will come back with Good Morning Uganda Tourism Express.
Of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
In the heart of Uganda, a financial revolution is happening. We were once left out, saving the old-fashioned way, with an unexpected saving spot, keeping it too close for comfort. But now, we found a better way to save and manage money. Download the Wendy app from Google Play or App Store or dial *229#. With Wendy, your money is safe and you can earn interest daily. Visit your Google Play or App Store or dial *229# to register. Wendy, Wanawoli.
Junko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model, PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, it is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Junko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Good morning, Uganda. My name is Irene Alena Misango, and welcome to the GMU Tourism Express, where we talk about anything and everything that is about Uganda's tourism. We give you the travel news, we give you the attractions, what you need to see, where you need to go, like we give you everything that is about Uganda's tourism. Well, today as I was coming, it was raining at my place. Reaching town, it was drizzling. And then I might come out of the studio and it is already shining, like, you know. And then I reflect on that beauty that Uganda has, that unique beauty. And then when I remember that this is uniquely ours, this is uniquely mine, Uganda's weatherman is a whole game. It is not found anywhere else. Well, that is not what I came to talk about today. I quickly want to take you through that travel news. What do we have today? What has happened just yesterday or yesterday but one? Well, Uganda held its first ever Uganda Qatar Tourism Trade Investment Summit Expo 2023 in Doha, Qatar. This started yesterday, and it was organized by the Uganda Embassy in Doha, Qatar, as well as the Ministry of Trade, Industries and Investment Cooperatives. This is set, it is themed to explore the trade, tourism, investment opportunities in Doha and Uganda that cause the similar interest with Qatar and Doha to see that how do we better these industries in our country, both through Qatar and Uganda. So the delegates that attended this event were really engaging the Doha people, telling them to invest so much in Uganda's tourism. Government has already availed all the opportunities that are available through the Uganda Investment Authority, so they can just check out the projects and see which ones are really good for them and are attractive for them to invest in them. On the travel news still, we have the Explore Pianupe campaign. This is organized privately by the Breathtaking Uganda company, and this is working in partnership with Ministry of Tourism, Miss Tourism Uganda and Miss Uganda. They are going to Pianupe, and their campaign is set to happen on the 30th of November up to 3rd December, and they're going to go and explore Pianupe. What does Pianupe have to offer? What are the unique beauties in this place? And Lokicha Reserve, Game Reserve. And then, you know, when you look at such campaigns, you know, Honorable Mgara was saying on his Twitter handle that it is everyone's role to promote Uganda's tourism. And when such campaigns, partnerships come in, and you see that we are all selling Destination Uganda, it becomes easier to put a shine on such regions, because Karamoja is mostly known with the unfortunate things that have been happening to it. But when you come out to show that and the other side, the beauty that is in that region, it will bring more shine on the region and attract more tourists to see that they also embrace the place and go explore Karamoja. Well, I was in Karamoja and it was a great experience. That will be a story for another day. And then probably you're there thinking, what do we have for you today? What are we going to talk about? Where are you taking you through? I think you thought when we showed you the Gaddafi Mosque, we showed you the Independence Monument, you thought that was all about Kampala. My friend, we still have a lot to show you around Kampala. And the place that we are going to show you today is at Kololo Independence or Kololo Airstrip. Okay, although this place is somehow very secured because of the government issues that usually take place there, it is very secured and most of the people have not been there, but it is still free. No one can stop you from entering into the grounds unless there is an event going on. But if there is no event going on, you can really go there and see this monument that we are going to talk about today. And you also get to learn about this monument and see what it represents. You know, these things are really uniquely ours. They are ours. Everything that Uganda has, it is yours. So this monument that we are going to talk about today is called the Journey Monument. And how does it come to be the Journey Monument? It was a Tuesday in 1962, 9th October, when Uganda got its independence. And by 2012, it was exactly 50 years from the time we got independence, and that is when that monument was made to celebrate the 50 years that we had been free from colonial government. So when you look at that monument, you see it has 5 individuals, 5 youthful individuals, and with the first 3 youths holding the Uganda flag on that pedestal. This shows that for the 50 years, the 5 youths represent the 5 decades that we were in freedom from the colonial government. And on that day, when on Independence Day on 9th October in 1962, as the Union Jack flag of England was being put down and the Ugandan flag was raised up with several jubilant Ugandans singing the national anthem, it was great joy. And then that shows how we've been able to carry our flag from that time up to by the time we had the 50 years. Of course, we are still carrying the flag. But this shows that there are several generations that have passed. There are several generations that have come. But even the young generation, the young person, is ready to carry on this, to carry on the flag, to take the country forward. And then on that day when Museveni, when the president was really talking about this, His Excellency said that For the first 4 decades, the country was really moving through some political conflicts, but by the 5th decade, he had already seen what the country really needed, and he was pressing onto that to see that we improve on the economic development of the country, and which, of course, we are seeing this with the several investments that are going on. Yeah. Well, that is it for you. If you're around Kampala, you can pass by Kololo airstrip and take a peek about that. Just to give you today's tip. Today's tip is basically learn basic phrases in the native language of your destination. You can learn a few words. Now, like me, when I go to the West, I know how to say no gambachi, indiaho, tinenshonga. I'm going for Explore West, I already know. Adeyo. What do you, Jora, what do you know in Lusoga?
Kunge maku. You know, I've actually remembered that particular word.
I'm already learning some words in
actually reminded me of Kunge maku. But you're actually right when you mention such as that when you're going to some of these regions, we need to catch up with some words. You know, also when my first chance to travel to the western region in Bara, I got to learn a few words as well, besides the Gamba Nogu that we hear a lot in Kampala, but also Orirota, is it? Yeah. Orirota, Mwarirota. Now this year I learned something like Owito Muka. So it is really important for us to be quite knowledgeable about different cultures as well. But anyway, nonetheless, thank you very much for the update when it comes to Uganda's tourism. And of course, to all of you who are yet to tour Uganda, please do so and make sure that you pick up something from each region where you go to, whether it's the food. I was in Fort Portal just earlier this year as well, and then got the chance to taste some of that beautiful kalo or millet flour. Amazing stuff. But for now, we're getting into the GMU business updates of the morning. Well, and now it's time for the business updates this morning, and of which we start off with the State Minister for Planning and the Minister of Finance and Economic Development, Amos Lugolobi, who has expressed the need for Uganda Bureau of Statistics to address the sentiments in the society that are greatly caused by multiple sources of statistical information. Now, according to the Minister, this was during the inauguration of the new board of the directors at the Statistics House Conference Hall in Kampala. Amos Lugolobi said that the board must ensure that UBOS presents itself as the central source of statistical information in the country, and it should be a reliable source of that particular statistical information, whereby if we are to look out for any sort of statistics in the country today, whether it's business related, when it comes to also the population kind of situation, it should be UBOS, because it is the statistics house that is supposed to be giving us the details of the same. But well, besides that also, however, some members like the chairman of the board, Albert Biamjisha, were retained to serve in the same position for the second term. When you look at the new allocations in regards to the new board at the Uganda Bureau of Statistics that was presented to the Ugandans. Now, the oath was administered by the principal judge, Dr. Flavian Zeija, who emphasized the need for the board members to know the demarcation of their responsibility, that is of the Uganda Bureau of Statistics management, to avoid clashing in their respective roles. And of course, kudos to those new appointed officials, or what you could say, kudos to the new appointments, and we hope they will be serving the country so well without any favor whatsoever, but rather in a professional manner, as highly anticipated or expected. further now in regards to business, the NFT mobility project implementation has ended after 3 years of its implementation. Through the lead farm approach, the NFT mobility project was launched at the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it was providing work for young people, as they were providers for professional mobility solutions in form of border best passenger services and delivery services. Now, in the 3 years of its kind of situation, or its time operating in the country, the implementation of the NFT mobility project has had a very huge positive impact to the communities under which it was being implemented. Now, the initiative was supported by the Private Sector Foundation and MasterCard Foundation under enhancing a lead farm structure for youth employment. Now, areas of impact include increased access to dignified employment, gender mainstreaming in the automotive industry. Then there is also facilitated access to finance and entrepreneurship development, among the others. Then, according to the Private Sector Foundation, at least 500 million Ugandan shillings was invested in this same project. As it comes to an end, the implementers are convinced it has achieved its intended objectives, because this is despite being unveiled at the peak of the COVID-19 pandemic, when times were really harsh in regards to Uganda's economy. Well, now lastly, from our business updates this morning, we look at the forex market to check out how the different currencies were faring by close of business Tuesday evening. By the time you move into the market this morning, this is how you will be able to find these particular currencies for those who are going in to exchange some of these. Now, the US dollar was buying at 3,791.29. that is at the time of the opener, while selling at 3,801.29 shillings. Now, moving on to midday, the US dollar was then buying at 3,796.54 shillings, while selling at 3,806.54, while closing time saw the US dollar buy at 3,801.13, while selling was at 3,811.13. The Great Britain pound was buying at 4,799.30, did close the selling at 4,811.93, courtesy of the exchange rate from the Bank of Uganda. Now, the Kenyan shilling was buying at 24.84 shillings, while selling at 24.90 shillings, and the euro buying 4,162.61, while selling 4,173.56. Let's also look at the Tanzanian shilling. It was buying at 1.51 shillings, while selling at 1.52 shillings. Then lastly, the South African rand was buying at 203.83, while selling at 204.37. So that is it when it comes to what is happening from the world of the forex market, as you're getting in there to exchange or make some foreign exchange in regards to the forex. And now, that brings us to the end of our GMU Business Update this morning. But stick around, because coming up just now is the traffic updates with Chantal Olive Akandinda.
Good morning once again. Thank you for sticking around with us. It's time for us to take a look at what is happening as you are trying to make your way to town. Now, right now, much as I'm in studio, I am at the Le Grand roundabout, or the Waise roundabout, trying to see how do I make it to town and how is it looking at the moment. Now, if you are coming from Naweru side, there is a lot of jam from that side. So, and the closer you are to the roundabout, the worse it gets. So maybe if you have an alternative route, think about using that at the moment. But I'm trying to make my way to town, so I am going to use the side that has Makere Kavule Road. That's the route I am trying to use to get to town. and at this moment there is a lot of holdups. Traffic is really slow, but it's not as bad, because as you can see, the orange lines, these are the ones that show you that there is traffic, but it's moving though at a really slow pace. So all the way I'm on Makere Kavule Road, and there is a lot of jam, especially after the roundabout. But after that, I am the moment you are approaching Total Energies Kavule, you are free to move all the way until the roundabout. Now this roundabout is the one that has the Synagogue Church of All Nations, or the one they call Kakande's Church or roundabout. Some of them call it the mortuary roundabout. Very many names it has, but that is where I am now. On this very roundabout, you are going to find some jam, but of course usually there is a jam on the roundabouts and junctions, just to let you know. And also a tip for you: when you are approaching the roundabout, make sure you are inside the roundabout instead of outside, because the people who are trying to join as well will be causing a lot of chaos for you. So that is a tip that you might want to consider in case you did not know. Now, if you are trying to join Binaisa Road, you are free to move, although there is another roundabout in there that is going to have a lot of jam. So if you want to reconsider, this is the time. But on Bombo Road is where I am now. Bombo Road has jam that is can I say bipolar, like Kampala weather one of these days? Because one moment it has released you to go, and the next moment you are in a hold up. There is orange lines, red lines, and the deep red lines that indicate that you are in for some little bit of jam, but also a little bit of movements here and there, depending on how far you've gone on that very road. Now, as I'm approaching, I'm still on Bombo Road, and on this very Bombo Road, there is a junction, and this very junction has a lot of jam. Like I earlier on mentioned, junctions and roundabouts always have a lot of jam, unless you are moving at a time that is not a peak time. But do note, it's 7 in the morning, and the more it gets to 8 and further till into 9 or 10, you're going to be encountering a lot of jam. Someone would ask a question: why is there too much jam yet the kids are already back home? Looks like Kampala people are buying more cars every single day. But on Bombo Road, I am free to move. There's just a little bit of a hold up on the junction that has Queensland, but if I'm proceeding to town, I am free to move until the junction that has Watoto Church downtown. Now that junction, definitely it has, as you're going to shortly past Watoto Church, if you're trying to get to the Equatorial Mall downwards, you are headed for a lot of jam right there. Trying to make your way to town, if you're going to Benchiwanuka Street, shortly after the junction, you are actually free to move, as you can see, going all the way until you reach another junction that is shortly after Mini Price. But Benchiwanuka Street is relatively okay, just one hold up in the middle there. However, if I am trying to make it to the city center, and after the junction that has Watoto Church downtown, there is a lot of jam, as I'm also trying to make my way down to where you would find King Fahad Plaza. That very same stretch. The very same stretch that has King Fahad Plaza has a lot of jam, especially if you are going to town. For those who are coming from town, you seem safer. Now, this part that has the new Pioneer Mall building has a lot of jam, of course, as you can see, especially after the junction as you're trying to make your way further into town. Kampala Road has a lot of jam, but also a few holdups and a few parts where you are actually free to move. All the way as I'm trying to make my way to town, Kampala Road has holdups that are not as bad until you reach, of course, the junction that takes you to Parliamentary Avenue, all the way to Victoria University. Now, if I am coming from town, going towards, now I'm trying to get out of town as I've gone through town using Kampala Road until I'm approaching Victoria University. If you're coming from areas of Ntinda, areas of Nakawa, areas of Jinja Road, and you are on the side that has Victoria University, there is a lot of jam right there as expected because people are coming to town. However, Nema House and National Water side are free. You can move Bank of Africa side as well. Kitgum House, there is a lot of jam on there. But I mean, this is now if you are coming, if you're coming into town from those areas. Of course, if you're trying to connect from Yusufulule Road, from Access Road, you are headed for a lot of jam right there. So as you try to make your way to town at this moment, you know which routes to use and which routes not to use. And if I'm checking Yusufulule Road, just this down here, the roundabout shortly after Garden City, or the roundabout around Garden City, usually has a lot of jam. As you're coming from Yusufulule Road, trying to join Ginger Road, there is a lot of jam right there. And going backwards, coming to town, Yusufulule has a lot of jam as well. Both for those who are coming and those who are going. Though for those who are coming to town, it's not as bad as you who is headed to the side that has Yusufulule Road. You are headed for a lot of jam. But Kafo Road seems safe. Just a little hold up in the middle there. Otherwise, you are safe to move. And if I proceed on Yusufulule Road, just a few hold ups here and there. But generally, to be fair, you are free to move until you reach, of course, the Tuko roundabout. The Tuko roundabout has the Binaisa Road and the Chira Road. Now, Chira Road is mad with a lot of jam. Especially when you are approaching the roundabout. So please make sure that if you have an alternative route, you use that route. Otherwise, you are headed for a lot of jam. The same applies to Binaisa Road. As you are trying to approach the Tuko roundabout, you are headed for a lot of jam on there. So what you do is make sure that you use these routes, especially if you can find ways of moving inside Kololo somewhere. Sometimes it's not mad with as much jam as the main routes in the mornings if you are late for work. Otherwise, coming to town, Yusufulule Road is a bit safe, but if you are headed further into Yusufulule, you are headed for a lot of jam. Kafo Road, like I already mentioned, is safe. Sezibwa Road has a bit of safe places, but gets a hold up in the middle there, and takes you all the way up to Chintu, up to the junction that connects you to Chintu Road. There is a bit of hold ups in there as you are trying to make your way to these areas where most people actually move when they are going to work. Well, that is it for the traffic updates. And if you're trying to make your way to town, you know which route to use. And if you have a way of being on the other side of those who are coming to town, you're better off doing that. It's a lot safer. That is it for the traffic updates. Thank you for staying with us. Coming up is Good Morning Uganda agenda. Stick around.
The Uganda Investments Authority will host the Presidential Investors Conference on Wednesday, the 29th of November 2023 at Kololo Independence Grounds. The conference will start at 9 a.m. with a presentation on access to affordable finance for investment, to be presented by the executive directors and CEOs of Stanbic Bank, Pride Microfinance, Post Bank, Centenary Bank, Housing Finance Bank, UDB, Standard Chartered, followed by a question and answer session to be handled by Mr. Maurice Rakakamba and the Honorable Evelyn Anite. This will be followed by another panel session on service level agreements and investor facilitation to be presented by the Chairman Emeritus of the Uganda Tourism Board, the Honorable Daudi Migereko. The session will then end with presentation of reports by private sector representatives, and finally an address by His Excellency the President of the Republic of Uganda, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
Junko.
Yo.
Wachiko. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Junko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
In the heart of Uganda, a financial revolution is happening. We were once left out, saving the old-fashioned way, with an unexpected saving spot, keeping it too close for comfort. But now, we found a better way to save and manage money. Download the Wendy app from Google Play or App Store or dial *229#. With Wendy, your money is safe and you can earn interest daily. Visit your Google Play or App Store or dial *229# to register. Wendy Wanawoli.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala, we have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
All on your public broadcaster. UBC, inspiring Uganda.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Previously, in most of these areas that we had prioritized, farmers would produce, but you don't access market because the roads are not there. So you have the middlemen that would have access and they persevere to go into those deep in the villages and they buy with their own prices. They can go there and set prices for you, and yet you are the ones who are producing this food. But now this time with the market linkages, people can now access market because we have bridges that were, streams that were bottlenecks to access by the farmers. Yet has constructed bridges, some farmers can now reach market.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
The Uganda Investments Authority will host the Presidential Investors Conference on Wednesday, the 29th of November 2023 at Kololo Independence Grounds. The conference will start at 9 a.m. with a presentation on access to affordable finance for investment to be presented by the executive directors and CEOs of Stanbic Bank, Pride Microfinance, Post Bank, Centenary Bank, Housing Finance Bank, UDB, Standard Chartered, followed by a question and answer session to be handled by Mr. Maurice Rakakamba and the Honorable Evelyn Anite. This will be followed by another panel session on service level agreements and investor facilitation to be presented by the Chairman Emeritus of the Uganda Tourism Board, the Honorable Daudi Migereko. The session will then end with presentation of reports by private sector representatives. And finally, an address by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Uganda, General Yoweri Kaguta Museveni.
Pick of the day on UBC.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Was brought to you by
MTN Momo Pay is the easy way to pay. Dial *165*3# or use the MTN Momo app. You don't need cash. MTN Momo Pay is safe and free.
In the heart of Uganda, a financial revolution is happening. We were once left out, saving the old-fashioned way, with an unexpected saving spot, keeping it too close for comfort. But now, we found a better way to save and manage money. Download the Wendy app from Google Play or App Store or dial *229#. With Wendy, your money is safe and you can earn interest daily. Visit your Google Play or App Store or dial *229# to register. Wendy Wanawoli.
A new dawn on Behind the Headlines with me, Timothy Nyangweso. Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala. We have conversations that have analysis, explanation, but not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth. Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda.
Junko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model, PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, it is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Junko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better.
PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
UBC is the national public broadcaster. We educate, inform, entertain, and inspire our audiences. You can watch us on free-to-air channel 001, DSTV channel 282, GoTV channel 371, Star Times channel 201, Zuku TV channel 20, and Azam TV channel 350. Even when your subscription expires, you can still watch UBC for free on your pay TV platforms.
Actually, Zono Industrial is one of the presidential initiatives which is to skill our youth. The skilling is free of charge. What you really need, you have to be within the age of 18 to 35. They don't need any requirements apart from being willing. You have to be willing, and a youth who is willing to get the skills. We have started with only 4: tailoring, hairdressing, carpentry, and welding. First intake, we registered 212 students from 10 administrative units of Acholi. These students, they recruited them from different districts within the Acholi sub-region. If we continue with this cooperation, many beneficiaries will pass through us, and they will go with enough skills and non-skills, which will change them and later bring them into an economy. We shall really fight poverty in that way.
This PRENO, as the name prescribes, is the project for restoration of livelihood in northern region. So it was designed to support the population in order to implement the national programs of wealth creation, improving household income, and this is done through supporting agriculture, and by supporting agriculture, you support seed production, training of farmers, mindset change, and even it went ahead to have components of food security grants, whereby families were given grants to be able to improve their food security. But there was also community-based natural resources grants, which were given to families to put in place woodlots, which would help them to reduce on killing the vegetation and deforestation, looking for energy or for firewood.
Previously, in most of these areas that we had prioritized, farmers would produce, but you don't access market because the roads are not there. So you have the middlemen that would have access, and they persevere to go into those deep in the villages, and they buy with their own prices. They can go there and set prices for you, and yet you're the ones who are producing this food. But now this time with the market linkages, people can now access market because we have bridges that were, streams that were bottlenecks to access by the farmers. It has constructed bridges, so farmers can now reach market.
Amaina gange ninze tusuubira Lyaga Margaret. Ndi Munawanyago Tailors Association SACCO ey'emyoga. Tuli batunzi ba byalaani. So ife nga Nawanyago SACCO twafunako emiliyoni 8 era bagiire nga badiiza mpola mpola ate nga bwe bongera n'okusavingaku era akasente ako katuyambyeku katutolaku wetwali katwongeraku eidaala okusobola okweyamba n'okwesitula mu maka gaife n'okulabirira famire gaife. Era tutwala omukisa guno okwebaza gavumenti yaife eya Muzeeyi Museveni Yoweri Kaguta Tibuwabulwa olw'okutuyamba ife abantu abawansi. Amaina gange ninze tusuubira Lyaga Margaret. Ndi Munawanyago Tailors Association SACCO ey'emyoga. Tuli batunzi ba byalaani. So ife nga Nawanyago SACCO twafunako emiliyoni 8 era bagiire nga badiiza mpola mpola ate nga bwe bongera n'okusavingaku era akasente ako katuyambyeku katutolaku wetwali katwongeraku eidaala okusobola okweyamba n'okwesitula mu maka gaife n'okulabirira famire gaife. Era tutwala omukisa guno okwebaza gavumenti yaife eya Muzeeyi Museveni Yoweri Kaguta Tibuwabulwa olw'okutuyamba ife abantu abawansi.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Beautiful morning. Good morning, Uganda. Thank you so much for being a part of this show. This is the time when we have a conversation on Good Morning Uganda agenda. And today we will be having a conversation regarding the HIV scourge in the country. But of course, we are going to center our conversation on the commemoration of the International AIDS Day that will be happening on 1st December. That is this week on Friday. Now, there was a declaration by UNAIDS, and of course many countries agreed to this, to end the HIV epidemic by 2030. So I'd like to have a conversation along these lines and see how far are we in achieving this goal. Are we there yet? Are Ugandans responding? Are people testing? What are we doing to ensure that by 2030 we have ended the HIV epidemic as a global threat, even on the local level as a national threat? We've come a long way when it comes to HIV AIDS from the time when we were at 18% infection rate, and currently we are at around 5.4. But I have an expert here who will correct me if I am wrong. I'll be having this conversation with Dr. Daniel Byamukama, the head of prevention at the Uganda AIDS Commission. He has a lot to share with us because he has been a part of fighting the HIV scourge, and of course leading in conversations regarding HIV infection rates in Uganda. So we are going to have this conversation and see how far we can go as a country. Good morning, Dr. Daniel.
Good morning.
I'm happy to have you. I know it's a chilly morning and the traffic situation on the road is not helping.
Yeah.
Okay, so now let's delve right into it. 1st December is International AIDS Day, and of course our conversation is going to center around this. And as a country, when it comes to the goal to end HIV infection as an epidemic, where are we standing?
Ending the epidemic.
Yes, ending the epidemic, okay.
So I think in terms of ending the epidemic, we have a mixed picture. So we set out in 2017, June, when the president launched the Presidential Fast Track Initiative to end AIDS as a public health threat. And though this is linked to the international commitment, the sustainable goals to end AIDS across the whole world. But you must recall that from the beginning, the president has always described AIDS as a simple disease. So in his testimonies, if you listen to his story, his conversations, you realize he says that in 1986, when he had a conversation with the technical people, and he discovered AIDS was not transmitted through handshakes, was not transmitted through sharing plates, was not transmitted through mosquito bites. To him, AIDS was a simple disease. It could easily be controlled. So when we launched the Presidential Fast Track Initiative, yes, as much as it was aligned to the global goal of ending AIDS across the world, but I'm very sure he was acting on his conviction, which has always had in his mind that we can actually end AIDS. It is a simple disease. So when we launched, we set out with, I think, 3 major objectives. Number 1, to end further HIV transmission. As I have shared before, we are not doing well in that parameter. A significant number of people still contracting HIV. And as we go along and discuss, we shall see why have people become lazy. So when we compare Uganda with the other parts of the world, we discover that the worlds where the HIV epidemic was severe, more severe than Uganda, they are doing much better than us. Those who were beaten hardest, they have come up with the strongest. So long ago, Uganda, we used to be the unbeatable leaders in the HIV response. But several countries, like Tanzania, like Malawi, like Botswana, like Eswatini, like Zimbabwe, are now being praised. Yes. Rwanda are being praised before us, really. We take the back seat. So when it comes to new HIV infections, we are at close to 52,000 new HIV infections, which is still very high. if we were really on track, if we are not lazy, there is open enough somewhere, we should be at less than 20,000 new HIV infections at a maximum. And those 20,000 should be among the high-risk groups, people who engage in sex work, people who abuse drugs, who inject drugs. But we are still seeing a high number of new HIV infections among young women, adolescent girls and young women between the age of 15 and 24. They are contributing the greatest number of new HIV infections in the country. And that's of great concern. Because when young people are still contracting HIV, it means they are still going to transmit HIV. So secondly, we are seeing a significant number of men, especially the uncircumcised men. Now, as we discuss, I must get an opportunity to call upon all men who are not yet circumcised. Don't really increase the burden. You need to go out and circumcise, because our statistics show that men who are not circumcised are being left behind. And they're the ones transmitting HIV to these young women I've talked about.
Now, speaking about men that are not circumcised, lately there is also, should I call it a movement, where men are actually being discouraged from getting circumcised, saying that it causes more problems to them, I think, in terms of their sexuality. So how do we change that perspective for them to look at it in a healthy way?
I think it is through the media.
Yeah.
Because, as we have already said, we implement a multi-sectoral response. Unfortunately, the people who are spreading false information to mislead our people, not just about circumcision, it's about all other programs, like a good program like the condom program. There's so many people, like the mother-to-child transmission program. There's so many people whose business is to invent myths and falsehoods and spread them. And unfortunately, if we don't take the good message out there to the people, somebody will fill the gaps with wrong information. That's how it works. That's why, as the Uganda AIDS Commission, we value our partnership with the media. The media is a key stakeholder in the fight against HIV. If you don't magnify the message and we take the message out to the people, somebody is busy feeding the people with wrong information.
With wrong information. Now, before we continue, to have a conversation regarding why people are being lazy, I would like for us to first have a distinction, because when we hear Uganda AIDS Commission, some people also think it is the same as Joint Clinical Research Center and many other AIDS, should I call them programs within the country. What's the distinction?
Thank you.
And the role?
I have met that challenge before, where I have gone out to address the people, and I'm being addressed as somebody from the AIDS Information Center, or TASO. But Uganda AIDS Commission, number one, is a government of Uganda agency. Number two, it is under the office of the president. It's not under the Ministry of Health. This was deliberate because from the start, the president has always preferred to be in the driver's seat, to be directly providing leadership for the HIV response, which he still does today. And as I talk now, as we plan on commemorating our World AIDS Day, in Nakai, he's going to be the chief guest, like he has always been over the years. So he has been directly involved. And as we talk, you know the Presidential Fast Track Initiative, which he led in 2017, which is the main guiding now framework for our response to end AIDS by 2030. So the president provides direct leadership to the fight against HIV in the country. So the Uganda AIDS Commission was constituted by law in 1992. When we started the HIV response, it started like in 1986. And at that time, the assumption was that AIDS was purely a health sector problem. It was being left to the hospitals and the doctors. But it later became clear that the determinants, that the factors that drive people to contract HIV are beyond the health sector. Addressing, yes, they are social. Yes. They are things to do with the wealth creation, with the transport, every sector, with the religious beliefs and everything. It became clear that all sectors, from the media, without the media, our message can only reach a very few people. From the religious leaders, they are a key part of the response. From civil society, from private sector, it became clear that everybody must play a part beyond the health sector. So the Uganda AIDS Commission was formed to help coordinate all the stakeholders, to make sure we're speaking the same message. So what we do as the Uganda AIDS Commission, we form a strategic plan the overall national guiding document, the guiding framework that guides how we are going to respond. And it allocates media, you're taking this part of the elephant. Health sector, you're taking this part. Agriculture, you're taking this part. And it monitors and it coordinates all the stakeholders to make sure nobody is abandoning their responsibility, to make sure everybody is held accountable, to make sure we don't get off track. We keep guiding and monitoring and overseeing the response to make sure we're all driving the same goal. So without coordination, the religious leaders will start saying their own message. Without that coordination and oversight, the media, you will start saying your own messages. But because of the overall coordination and oversight, we are all guided to make sure we keep the message, we keep the plan, and that is a uniform plan of ending AIDS by 2030.
Now, on Friday, like I have shared earlier, we will be commemorating the International AIDS Day. And to a Ugandan out there viewing us right now, why is it important for us as a country to commemorate this day?
So, International AIDS Day is commemorated all over the world.
Yes.
It's an important day of remembrance. Of all the epidemics we have had in the world, there is none that has been as destructive as AIDS. It has killed our friends. Several of our brothers and sisters are sick. So it's a way of remembrance of our family and friends and countrymen who have succumbed to this epidemic. An epidemic for which most of the part we are totally helpless about. When you are not yet born, I tell you, people would really contract HIV, and within 6 months, they are having diarrhea continuously for 6 months, and they just wither away and die within no time. We are totally helpless from the beginning. It was quite a painful sight. Thank God, we now have antiretroviral therapy. But that means a significant number of brothers and sisters, up to almost 1.48 million people are now living with AIDS in Uganda. Thank God for the antiretroviral therapy we have, which a significant number of our people, close to 1.3 million, are taking. That means a significant number, more than 150, close to 200,000, are not embracing this opportunity, which is a shame, which explains why our other progress. So the other way we measure our progress towards the goal of ending AIDS by 2030 is by reducing the number of people who are dying of AIDS. So when we launched this initiative in 2017, the number of AIDS-related deaths were around 36,000 per year. We have managed to reduce it to 17,000, which is more than half. And if you look at 2017 up to 2030, we'd say we are in midway. So most of the indicators should be more than half. At least for the AIDS-related death, we have managed to reduce this to more than half. But there is no Ugandan who should be dying of AIDS now. We have easy-to-take medication. 1 pill a day. When we started the HIV response, people were taking so many pills a day, a handful of pills. But now it's 1 pill a day. So we'd want to encourage Ugandans, because as we'll discuss, effective HIV treatment, helping our people who are living with HIV to take their medication well, is one of the most effective tools we have to end AIDS. Number one, it will help those who are HIV positive to stay alive, healthy, taking care of their families. But most important for the community is that people who are taking their medication very well, they are not transmitting HIV. The science is already clear. So if we could find a way of supporting all our countrymen to get on treatment, we would have dealt a very big blow to the AIDS epidemic. Now, and that we need to do.
Yes. Speaking of medication, I just learned that the government just approved the vaginal ring. Please tell us more about that.
So this is the ring.
Works.
Yes, good. That's a good question. We have discovered over time that there is a challenge. I have told you that we have more than around 1.48 million people living with HIV. And you talked about the HIV prevalence, which is slightly above 5%.
Yes.
It's actually now revised 5.1%. But when you compare women and men, you will discover that the prevalence is much higher in women.
Yes.
It is 6.5 in women, whereas in men, it it is 3.6. That is more than double. What is the explanation? One of the key explanations is that there is no HIV prevention tool that is in the control of a woman. Even if the woman wanted to take care of herself, she's still at the mercy of the man to cooperate and wear a condom, for example. So we have come up with a tool that will reduce the risk of a woman, that is in the hands of the woman. And we are proud of this tool called the vaginal ring you've talked about. It is a coil that a woman inserts in her private parts, and it can stay there for a whole month.
So when she has this ring in her private parts, if she engages with someone that is HIV positive and probably they're not even taking medicine, she cannot be infected?
It's not that she cannot be infected. It significantly reduces.
The
you
risk.
See, of all the tools we have of HIV prevention, the most effective one is abstinence.
Yes.
All the others have some small margin of error, but they are highly effective. 98%, 96%, very highly effective if you use it correctly as the doctor prescribed. So even the ring is not 100% effective. But when we in science evaluate it at population level, its contribution, if you add it to a circumcised man, the contribution made by circumcision is not 100% effective. But when you mix the contribution of circumcision at population level, the contribution of the ring, we see it making a significant contribution in reducing HIV prevention, HIV incidence, infection among women.
So now,
so it's a key tool that we are promoting, but there is another tool that we are very hopeful would reduce that prevention gap for women. As I said, HIV significantly impacts women.
Yes.
If we look at numbers, we can say there are around more than 870,000 women living with HIV in Uganda, and there are around 500 and something, around 530 men living with HIV. Yet at population level, we are almost a ratio of 1 to 1. The reason the woman does not have a prevention tool that is in charge, they are in charge of. So we have come up with another tool, which is the injection.
Okay.
Now, this one we believe will be a game changer. We believe this should be embraced by women. We believe this should reduce the burden, the high burden of HIV in women.
Has it already been approved?
It has not yet been approved, but we are very hopeful that we shall get National Drug Authority approval. We have lined up our donors to come and support us. This is earmarked especially for young women, as I said earlier. The young woman is so disadvantaged because if you move around with condoms as a young woman, your boyfriend or your husband will call you promiscuous.
Even as a grown woman, is standing at the counter in the pharmacy to buy condoms.
So the society connives to disempower a young woman or any woman. If you move around, the other prevention tool we have in form of pre-exposure prophylaxis, they are pills. So if you move around with a box of pills as a young woman, you will be harassed in the community. You'll be called promiscuous. But now, look at the injectable. You walk into the clinic once in 2 months. That even reduces the number of times the women who are dependent on their husbands for transport, the number of times you have to trick your husband to give you some money for transport to go to the hospital. So once in 2 months, this young woman walks into the clinic, gets an injection. She no longer has to fight with a man to beg them, wear a condom. No, that is done. If the man does not want to wear the condom, she is protected. It is quite effective. She no longer has to move around with the PrEP pills, the ARV pills of pre-exposure prophylaxis, because the community will really humiliate her. She will be saved from that. So we look at the injection. As soon as the National Drug Authority, we have lined up our donors to make this tool available. We believe it will be a game changer to support women significantly, and we expect the women now not to find another excuse to shy away from this tool.
Okay, but the injectable seems like a game changer, like you've said, but a little bit about the vaginal ring that has already been approved. How does that work? Because in family planning, we have the IUD, and if a woman can have it for, let's say, 10 years. How long does one have to have the vaginal ring, or how often do they have to change it?
So the ring, the vaginal ring, must be changed. It's a monthly ring. So you must remove it every month. And the woman is trained to insert it herself. So how it works is that actually that ring contains antiretroviral drugs. So as soon as the germs, the HIV germs enter the private parts of the woman, it works by releasing the antiretroviral drugs into the walls of the vagina of the woman to kill before the germs enter, before they enter your body.
Just like the IUD
works. It's like putting some poison that kills the germs. So like you can put antiseptic on the skin, that when the germs get in contact, they immediately die before they enter and cause infection. So
now,
that's how it works.
For the women that already have an IUD installed, can they also be able to have the vaginal ring at the same time?
Absolutely.
They won't
They are
be
in
affected.
totally different places.
Okay.
They are totally different places. The IUD is inserted inside the cervix and goes up inside the womb. But the ring will go around the cervix, so that totally you can have both, and you'll be, and that's double protection really, because against unintended pregnancy and HIV. So it's double protection.
Okay. So as we continue with the commemoration of the International AIDS Day, tell us more. Where is it going to be, or the venue? You already said the guest of honor is the president himself. Yes, and of course, what are some of the objectives you have for this day?
So, in commemorating this World AIDS Day, we have a theme. So I've said we are looking forward to remember our people, our brothers and sisters who have succumbed to the epidemic, to show solidarity with our brothers and sisters who are living with this disease. But also, it's an opportunity to remind us. That's why we chose Rakai. When the HIV epidemic started in Uganda, it was first spotted in Rakai, the stream disease. And it spread from Rakai along with the transport corridors. Initially, it was by the roadside, before it spread to the communities. So it started from Rakai. It was first identified in 2 villages, fishing villages in Rakai. So we decided to go back to Rakai to reflect on where it all started from, to see how we have endured, to rethink about our story. Maybe we can recommit ourselves as a country to finally end this epidemic, because we have done so much. As you rightly said from your introduction, we were at 18% HIV prevalence.
Yes.
We are now close to 5%. That is not small work.
No.
But we are committed to finally ending AIDS, because it can be ended. So we shall be in Rakai town, in Rakai district, at a place called Chibali's grounds, in Chibali parish. And the guest of honor will be the president, so we expect cabinet members to be there, and all the leaders of the HIV response, and we shall be recommitting ourselves, reinvigorating the stakeholders and the whole countrymen and women to push for the last mile, to make sure by 31st December 2030, we are in a position to declare. As much as we have not moved in some parameters I've shown you, when it comes to HIV treatment and ending AIDS-related death, we have moved at good speed.
Yes.
When it comes to ending new HIV infections, and partly it is because we are doing well in another. It's because we are doing well in treatment. Everybody looks healthy.
So now people are becoming complacent.
People are becoming lazy. Complacent, yes.
Which brings us to the other thing you said in the beginning. Why are people becoming lazy?
People are becoming lazy, number one, because the scare of HIV is no longer immediate in their eyes. Everybody is on HIV treatment, and most people who are living with HIV are on HIV treatment, and so the immediate pain, the motivation to really take prevention seriously is no longer there. When we were young, the picture was really very painful. When you turned right, you saw somebody in a painful stage, and you're really motivated to do what you can do to stay out of harm's way. But that scare is no longer there. And we have heard that because of that, young women go around boasting that they fear pregnancy. They don't fear AIDS because AIDS is treatment. But I would want to call upon countrymen and countrywomen and let you know that number one, medicine is not food. AIDS treatment is not food. Number two, it has side effects. Number two, it is given to us as a gift. I always want to say that. If you cannot find any other motivation to do your best to avoid contracting HIV, I want you to know that most of our people who are receiving antiretroviral drugs, most of those drugs are given to us as a gift. Then how can you add yourself on the list? You must do everything because we cannot afford to have every Ugandan on HIV treatment. How will it look like? Because once you've started HIV treatment, it's lifelong. That means you have to keep on going to the hospital.
You can't get off.
You can't get off. So that means every year if we add 50,000, by 2030, the benches in the hospital will all be full of people coming to pick their HIV treatment.
Yet there are other people who come to the hospital. There are other people
who have cough, who have flu, who have malaria. We cannot put every Ugandan on treatment. But most significantly is that we are depending on donors to buy most of this treatment. What if we annoy the United States of America one day? Because we almost did recently.
Haven't we already?
We almost did.
Annoyed them.
So if we annoyed them and they said no more money for ARVs, that means we shall start scrambling for ARVs like we scramble for Panadol. And that is not good because with HIV treatment, you must be assured of a continuous supply, no stock out. So that would be very painful on our people. So I would want to encourage the young people, as much as we have effective HIV treatment, it is not food, it has side effects, it is a gift. You cannot count on a gift and risk your life or handle yourself carelessly. So we would want to invest in prevention, and I think if time allows, I will tell you what we need to do to make sure you don't become one of the people who must unfortunately line up every month in the hospital to pick care of it.
I think within just a minute we can delve into that. What can be done to ensure that we reduce the numbers of people that will be lining up?
So if we have just 1 minute, I will have just 2 messages. The first one is that we must kill stigma. The habit of shaming people who are living with HIV, or shaming relatives or children of people living with HIV. You must teach your children not to shame their classmates who are living with HIV. What is the price of that? When we shame people living with HIV, they don't take their medication as they should take it. When they don't take their medication as they should take it, they continue transmitting HIV. That is a loss for the community. It is a high price we must pay for just the pressure of shaming and stigmatizing people. And unfortunately, I must let you know that those who stigmatized others in the 1990s, some of them themselves have HIV now. So you cannot count, you cannot enjoy the pleasure of stigmatizing people for the sake of stopping HIV. Stigma is stopping people from taking medication and they continue spreading. Taking medication as prescribed by the doctor is one of the effective tools we have of ending HIV spread. Taking medication as the doctor prescribed is one way of ensuring that our brothers and sisters stay alive. So if there is one thing you must do, support the HIV positive person, take their medication well. But of course the men go and circumcise.
Men go and circumcise. And also test as much as you can. Yes, now as we close, I have a comment from a gentleman called Phillips from Karamoja. He says, HIV and AIDS may not be eradicated but can be reduced. This can only be done through community sensitization using MDD, PLHIVs, cultural leaders who talk on bad cultures that fuel HIV spread. And he goes on to say there is only one big problem with the non-government organizations that are funded to help talk to the communities on ways to avoid contracting HIV and AIDS. People need to be talked to in the local language and not translation. I appreciate what TASO has ever done. It recruits the local community to carry out sensitization, and this has worked very well. The use of peer educators helped by field officers who are locals and who will work with religious leaders, local leaders and health workers to help talk to the youth, about the through the use of dialogue, meetings continuously, messages recorded and replayed on radio stations. His message is long, but I will end there.
His message is spot on.
Exactly.
His message is accurate.
Yes.
And I thank him, of course. There are so many other tools of HIV prevention that I have not had the time to expound on.
Yes.
But through community engagement by the various stakeholders, the messages goes out there, and we can together end this epidemic because we have the tools to end this epidemic.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Daniel Byamukama. This is a conversation I will be happy to have with you many other times, because in as much as the International AIDS Days are coming up on 1st December, the AIDS situation remains, and we still need, like you said, to put this message out there so that people know that AIDS is still with us and we are working tooth and nail to end the infection rates by 2030. So I'm hoping to have you here again very soon. Well, you're still watching Good Morning Uganda. This has been Good Morning Uganda Agenda. Ruben Mpima is coming up next with Good Morning Uganda sports updates.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
The Uganda Investments Authority will host the Presidential Investors Conference on Wednesday, the 29th of November 2023 at Kololo Independence Grounds. The conference will start at 9 a.m. with a presentation on access to affordable finance for investment, to be presented by the executive directors and CEOs of Stanbic Bank, Pride Microfinance, Post Bank, Centenary Bank, Housing